From 1 to 10, yes, Bhaiya.
Okay. So in this Raja Yoga and Raja Guhya, what we saw, the first thing is like, what is a prerequisite for a person to uh, imbibe the teaching and put into experience? So the first thing is like a person should be free from the asuya, basically the jealousy, the pettiness in the mind. So basically, mind has to uh, evolve from a lower state to a little bit of higher state. So that's a prerequisite. And then he got Bhagavan says that all this realization, God realization, is possible, and it can be experienced directly, okay, through moral and ethical value. So that's what the initially he says. And then he reveals the profound truth as to how he pervades in the world, and yet people, and yet is not attached. And he points out the delusion, basically in the fourth verse, like how people, how we are, how all are deluded. And then he points out the actual reality, that actual reality is only the Brahman, which is in the entire world. And he also tells about like what is the cause of delusion. So the delusion is basically due to the Maya or Prakriti. And then he enumerates a list of all function of Prakriti, like basically the Prakriti is one which is an originator, sustainer. It dissolves the universe, it causes all the cosmic cycles, and then it supports the duality, what we see in the world, like the mortality, immortality, the evil, good, everything is supported through the Prakriti. And then, and after saying that, Bhagavan says, so is it possible that human doesn't have any freedom? Then he says, yes, they do have a freedom. And how do they achieve it? It's very simple. That's what he says, that it's the secret is very simple. One thing, one, the person has to be single pointedly devote devote himself or herself on the truth, basically the truth that the single Brahman, or supreme Brahman, or supreme divine, whatever it might be to call it as. So with that devotion, it's possible to escape from the realm of Maya and transcend completely. And then he says that how there are two type of devotees. One devotee is like who are focused on jnana marga, where they see self in everyone. And second kind of a devotee who sees who who views God and human being as separate, and they understand the knowledge that it's only one single supreme reality which operates on all. So that's a devotee path, bhakti path. And then he goes about saying that like people who don't realize, the devotees who don't basically understand the basic operating principle of that, like for example, if people who worship devas, right, they go to without considering the supreme reality is there, they go to devaloka. And then people who worship pitru go to pitraloka, bhutaganas to bhutas. So that's how it operates. And people who worship me closely, they come to me. And he also points out that to worship me, it's very simple. One is like you can offer this patra, pushpam, phalam, and water, jalam also. And if it is given with complete devotion, you can reach out to me. One. And second, while working in the world, you can offer whatever you have to me, basically any actions, basically not actions, any fruit of the actions to me, surrender to me. Whatever you consume, you also give it to me. So that will, eh, whatever that you do, if you surrender to me, it will reach out to me. So that's the thing that secret is he talks about in this verse. And then he also points out that the biggest thing is like he also assures basically that if you are completely devoted to me, then I will ensure that there is no lack of things in your life, and whatever that you have will also be completely preserved. So that's a promise or assurance that Bhagavan makes. And then we saw both. Wait, let me go through this. Okay, okay. And then he tells that what is the result of doing this, by if you submit all your fruits or actions to me, what will be the end result of it? So the end result, what he says is like you would start slowly strengthening your renunciation. So moment you start slowly strengthening your renunciation, you will develop dispassion. Once you develop dispassion, your viveka also will grow, and that will eventually lead to me. That's what the result of surrendering one's fruit or actions to God. And the biggest thing that of the shloka says is like this: the promise is that due to this one, right? What it implies is a person, wherever he is, whatever station in life he or she is in, like this can be achieved. So that's a biggest secret also. Like you do not, a person need not go basically separate from himself from whatever work he is doing. He can practice this in every part of like 24/7. This can be practiced, and person can achieve that goal. And in verse 29, uh, then it talks about, then if God, then the question arises: if God is present in everywhere, then what about uh, what about good person and wicked person, right? That's the question which happens. So God is also present in wicked person and good person. Yes, definitely is present, but he says that I am closer to the person who is good rather than to the person who is wicked. It's the example would be like, closer example would be like, uh, if a person is sitting near a fire camp, there's a fire camp, a person who is sitting near a fire camp and a person who is sitting far away from fire camp. Okay, so in both the cases, there's nothing, no, the fire has got no effect on in both the persons, but the warmthness felt by the person who is closer to the fire is much higher than the person who is away from the fire. So that's how he says that he is closer to the bhaktas, basically who are closer to him, who are completely devoted to him. He is pretty closer to them. And and also assures that like whatever they they lack, that it will be fulfilled. So it should not be understood from the lackness, from the scarcity, from the point of the wealth or something, but sustenance of life. So that would be never be missing from their life. That's a promise. And uh, and it also gives like, so he talks about a good and evil person. Now he also talks about in 30, 31, 32, 33. He talks about like how can a wicked person can reform himself, right? So he says like a person, wicked person, if he or she like if they start with a firm resolve, single pointedly focus on him, then definitely that person should be considered as a sadhu. So this is a classic example where we see in the Ramayana also, where the Daku Ratnakar, he becomes a after repeating Rama 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 Rama, he becomes a Valmiki. That's in the Ramayana. And the latest example would be like in the life of Girish Chandra Ghosh, where he himself admitted that he had all the bad habits in his life. And once he was in contact with Sri Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna didn't talk about like you have to convert from a go, you should not follow a whole habit or something, but the mere presence of Sri Ramakrishna started a transformation in him. Similarly, like where Ratnakar, when he was in contact with Narada Muni, he transformed. Similarly, this he also got transformed. So this example shows that there is a possibility, right? So if you analyze this point, like that means on every saint there is for every sinner there is a hope that he can become a saint, and for every saint there is, in the past they were sinners. So that gives a hope for us that we too can actually uh, transform ourselves or transcend ourselves, evolve our mind, and achieve that the ultimate goal of realizing God. So realizing God might be like it could be like in the form of, we can say like the fulfillment, whatever that we wanted in life, the fulfillment, complete fulfillment. And he also goes on to say that even if a person, not only that, even if a person who is from a lower birth or a caste or anything, even they too can uplift themselves through this bhakti. So what Bhagwan says is like he's not pointing out the mistakes. He's not pointing out that there is a caste system, basically higher caste and lower caste. But what he points out is that in those days, whatever the customary thing was there at that point of society, he considers that it gives an example of that sort to say that even from them also they could raise upon or to raise or transcend themselves. That's what he says about it. And then also he talks about if they too can raise, even the person who are learned, like in those days brahmanas and kshatriyas are considered to be learned, so even they too can also easily transcend themselves through the bhakti. So the gist is that in this entire Rajaguhya thing, he talks about the truth, secret, the supreme truth, the secret, and also roots. He also combines the jnana with bhakti, and he what he says is like you practice bhakti, but root your bhakti in the jnana, then you would be easily able to transcend this realm of Maya and achieve the completeness and conquer your life. Basically, all your you could transcend the cycle of birth and death, and you will you will realize God. So that's the complete summary of chapter 9, Didi.
Beautiful, Bhaiya. And at least this shows how
Mm.
much sincere and deep you have gone through all the adhyay. We have like allotted it was only ninth on you, but the way you were summarization was there. So it was like you are going deep, very deeply in every adhyay, every shloka. Very sincere, I must say. The summarization was done by you. Very sincere.
Thank you, thank you. I would say like I've heard like it's because of all the participants. It's not just anything. I've heard some of those participants like when I started the eighth adhyay, like how Manjushri Didi had came up with the examples and everything. So that's how I, and also the homework, right? The homework was good, so I put that's one of the things. So how I went deep.
Very nice, very nice. Actually, every summarization is going different, and it's giving like raising the bar of going deeper, not competing. Instead, like I should go more deeper. I should go more deeper, and the more deeper, the more जितनी ज्यादा गहरी तो मोती उतने बाहर आ रहे हैं. It's like going like that.
Yeah, and one of my thing was like one of my favorite topic was this that Advaita philosophy. So I was able to go into it. That was one of
Okay,
my thoughts.
you have read